Well, joining us now to discuss the presidency's reaction to the European Union report on the 2023 general election is a former member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Public Affairs, Bola Bakare. It's great to have you on Newsday. So let's go straight into it.
Thank you, Mr. Ito. I'm glad to be here too.
Awesome. So let's go straight into it, Mr. Bakare. Now, the presidency's response to the EU report has been met with mixed reactions. Opposition parties, including the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party, have criticized the presidency for rejecting the European Union's final report of the February 25 presidential election. Others believe the response is a very dismissive and reflects a defensive stance. How important is it for the current administration to engage constructively with such reports and address the concerns that were raised?
Oh, Shaitan, thank you once again, and I'm glad to be here. Honestly, I want us to look at the situation we're in, first and foremost as Nigerians. Because if you want to categorize my person, I'll call myself a Yoruba man, a Lagosian, a Nigerian, an African, and then whatever you want to say afterwards. What I mean by this is Nigeria is more important to me than any other place, first and foremost. Here we are talking about the EU-EM, Election Observation Mission. Fine, they've been here. They've made deliverables to the world to go through. But what I would like to tell you as we speak, I would like us to pick on not what the name of the guy is. Barry Andrews. He's the rep that came to Nigeria. Barry Andrews is an MP on the EU Parliament. Let's leave what he talked about as being what happened, what he saw, or what he did not see. I want us to look at his own recommendations and then be able to move forward from there. Because there are a lot of school of thought here in Nigeria that are saying, okay, it will be fair for us to say, okay, let's look at what he is saying, what the EU is saying, and then use that as a guideline to go forward. I agree with that in totality. But I would like to tell our viewers back at home, I would like to tell Nigerians this. Like I said earlier, first and foremost, I am a Nigerian. It's high time we get out of that doldrum of being tagged with different names and we keep keying into it. If you're talking to somebody from the West, or somebody from the West is talking about you in your absence, he calls you a member of a third world country. If you're there present, they will look at you and then probably say you are from a developing nation. They have various names for us. But the thing is, my person, as a Nigerian, I am a very, very proud Nigerian because I believe what we can do. I believe in my intellect, which translates to most Nigerians. Go to England, 5% of the medical staff are Nigerians. Go to America, for migrants, we are the most educated. Honestly, that should count for something. And what I'm telling most Nigerians this morning is, it's high time we stop believing in things that are being said without looking at it closely. Like I said, I am going to look at the recommendations of Barry Andrews and then we'll discuss about it. But the thing is this. Let us think about ourselves first. We think about ourselves first.
Mr. Bakare.
Okay, let me read to you the recommendations of Barry Andrews.
Mr. Bakare, if I can just step in very quickly. Now, there are about 23 recommendations that were put out with six declared as emergency steps that should be taken. Now, I want us to look at the body language of the current administration. You've spoken about how you are proud to be a Nigerian. I don't think there's anything wrong with having international bodies come to review our electoral process. But you can't also deny the fact that there were things that happened in this 2023 elections that definitely marred the process in itself. So the presidency coming out to say that the EU report is not something that should be taken seriously. That's what I want to talk to you about. shouldn't it be a case where the current administration is coming out to say, we've seen these recommendations and we're going to do whatever it is possible to make sure that the next time we are here, this is not going to be the situation. Remember that when former President Yar'Adua came into power, he said it himself that the process that brought me here may not have been the best, but I'm going to make sure that I use my time in the office to make the electoral process better. Shouldn't that be what this administration should be looking at?
Thank you, my dear sister. Your reference was our ex-president, Umaru Shehu Yar'Adua. That was Umaru Shehu Yar'Adua. We're talking about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu here. You see, there is a factor I would like to talk about. You're a media person. There is something we know in the media. There is what is called information. There is what is called misinformation. There is what is called disinformation. There is what is called propaganda. All are media information dissemination. You get my drift? Based on this premise and on what the special advisor to Mr. President on Media, Dele Alake, said, not just him saying it, I know about it. I'm an observer. I move around a lot. The idea here is we have, based on what happened, where he got his own information from. We're talking in terms of the team. What I can call the EU-EOM team is based on about 11 Abuja-based analysts, 40 election observers spread over our 36 states plus Abuja. And then we have to think in terms of we have 176,000 polling units. If you revert back to what I said earlier, in terms of that element of the 4 key information dissemination factors, what you don't know and what somebody tells you create a situation of when you're giving it away. Misinformation and disinformation.
Mr. Bakare, permit me for the brevity of time to actually just step in at this moment in time. Before I ask my question, just to
now in the bid of shooting straight. Loud and clear.
No, in the bid of shooting straight, my question is simple. Are you saying that the EU observers are liars, that they have twisted the information and twisted the scenario that happened in the general elections? Is that what you're saying right now? Because when you're speaking about misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, are you saying they are lying? Are you saying that they've concocted cock and bull stories and fed it to Nigerians? Is that what you're saying right now?
No. You are a media person, and I am explaining the media capabilities to the average Nigerian out there. Because why we are here seated, it's not because of you, of Bola, Aaron, and Shaitan. We're here because we want to address, we want to educate the populace, the average Nigerian out there. What I'm saying is this. I am talking in terms of where the EU-EOM got its information from, based on, in quote, its team. Its team is made up of analysts in Abuja, 40 election observers. I'm not talking in terms of other observers that are local, that are own people that can do the same thing. I'm talking in terms of EU observers, which were just about 40. So what we say in essence is what they have is just about one person in every state, and then for God's sake, the rest of your information comes from what you hear on the media space. I am conversant with the media space too. I can listen to Arise, I can listen to IT,
Mr.
I can listen to all the studios in Nigeria, and then form an opinion.
Mr. Bakare, permit me,
but
because
let me
the reason why I asked that question.
Ask me categorically.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The reason why I asked that question was because I wanted to lay a foundation. What the sentiments of the EU observers is not different from the sentiments of Nigerians who were disenfranchised, Nigerians who were harassed, Nigerians who did not get the opportunity to exercise their franchise. Quite a number of people. Arise News did a fantastic job. I was here in the studio where we got reports from around the country, and we saw these things play out on national TV. Case in point, in Kano State, we saw people, underage people, being videoed live on Arise News, queuing up to vote. And this was permitted where the police the policemen there spoke and said, and I quote, "You cannot ascertain the age of a man by his stature." But you and I know this. If you see a child, if you see a minor, you can tell from a mile away. We saw all these things play out. And this is almost startling with what the EU said. You do not even need to be around the country to be able to feel the pulse if you had followed the Rise news on the 25th of February. And this is not a departure from what the EU have said. That is why I asked the question, are you saying that the EU have concocted stories? One. Are you saying that the EU are lying? Two. And are you saying that the EU have probably padded the informations that have been meted out to Nigerians on this particular issue? It's a simple question, it's a straight question. I hope to get a straight answer.
Thank you. On all those three counts, the answer is a big no. Capital letters and underlined. What I'm saying to you, in essence, is simple. The EU is here as an observer status. And if you listen quite well to what I said earlier when I was starting out with the belief that democracy is ours. We should learn from the process. It is a learning process. It doesn't end now, and it won't end now. And without going subjudice, whatever it is, whatever grouse anybody has, it's in the law courts. Let's leave a little bit of that to the law courts. We're talking about the EU, EOM as we speak. My position to the average Nigerian is this. Go back in time a little bit. The EU, EOM was in America during the transition of Trump to Biden. They came up with all their observations. And at the end of the day, we had January 6th. For God's sake, that was America. That was a place we called First World. That's a place we call the epitome of democracy. I read all this, I can give you inferences. What was the position of the EU, EOM in the American elections? Not just that alone. What was the EU, EOM feedback on the Brazilian election of Lula and Bolsonaro? What I'm saying is this. It is Nigeria. I am a Nigerian. It is my business. It is our democracy that we're talking about here. Okay. When a person do not have a team enough to go around town, then there is a tendency that you will buy into things that you are not sure of.
Okay, Mr. Bakare.
I made inferences to the element of information, misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda.
Because of the limited time we have,
go ahead.
Let us talk solutions. The EU report not only highlights the challenges, but it offers recommendations for improving future elections in Nigeria. It's spoken about removing ambiguities in the law, establishing a publicly accountable selection process for INEC members, ensuring real-time publication of access to election results, and providing greater protection for media practitioners, addressing discrimination against women. There's so many recommendations that they've given. What specific actions, very briefly, do you believe that the presidency should address among these recommendations to enhance the integrity and the credibility of the Nigerian electoral process?
Thank you, Shaitan. I have the list here too, the core 6. The recommendations were remove ambiguities. One word for that is our democracy is just 23 years old, so to speak, or 24. It's a learning process, and I am sure we're going to improve as we go. The other thing was public accountability selection for INEC workers. We've been doing that. The last time there was hues and cries about somebody who was appointed by the administration, and then Nigerians said, no, she's a card-carrying member of a political party, and as such, she shouldn't be there. She was negated. And at the same time, there are people there that are diligent enough doing the work, and as is. Other one was real-time publication and access to election results. As at the time of these elections, INEC was saying, we cannot post those things because within the period of 48 hours, they had a situation of over 100,000 hacks going into their system. What do you think will have happened if the hacks had gone into the system? The numbers have been upped, and then at the end of the day, we now come down and say that is not what we're going to work with. But all the same, that still borders on the fact that the INEC is the midwife of elections, and it's in a position to take care of the elections.
All right.
And then you're talking about discrimination against women. We have a 35% affirmation in place, and then we're going to take care of that. You and I are in it together.
Right.
Impunity that appears to you and I in terms of guidance to journalists, that is a Nigerian thing. We are moving forward, and then we are improving on it. Honestly,
Thank you very much.
my last word, we are all in this together.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bakare, for your time here on Newsday.